We're here already. Look at that. We are here. How not to bomb, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining, coming to the show. Okay. All right, it's going away. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everybody, to How Not to Bomb. Everybody's got a story, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Michael Wheels Parisi. You know, people see success, but they rarely see what it takes to get there. They see the sold-out shows, the beautiful venues, the packed audiences, and they think it happened overnight. What they don't see is the sleepless nights, the risks, the setbacks, and the times you wondered if you should just walk away. Comedy's a tough business. We talk about it all the time. Owning a comedy club is even tougher. Most comedy clubs don't make it. Many open with excitement, only to close their doors on a few years later. The entertainment business is unpredictable, as we know. One bad month, one bad decision, or one economic turndown can change everything. But every once in a while, someone figures it out. And they do. Our guest tonight didn't just build a comedy venue. He built an entire entertainment destination from the ground up. Today, his theater hosts between 400 and 500 shows every single year. Featured as one of the biggest, he features the biggest names in comedy and in music. Even more impressive, it's one of the few independently owned theaters that's not only surviving, but is thriving. It's called the Boca Black Box, and it's at Boca Raton, Florida. And here's what I love about Randy's story. This wasn't just his first business. It wasn't his first successful business. Before entertainment, he built a multi-million-dollar business in automotive and real estate. 3 completely different industries, 3 successful companies built from scratch. That tells me that isn't luck, that's vision. Leadership, systems, it all comes down to vision. Now he's looking to expand his theater concept across the country through partnerships and franchising, proving that entrepreneurs never stop dreaming, they just dream bigger. So tonight, we're going to talk business, we're going to talk a little comedy, we're going to talk a little bit about everything. And please help me welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Randy Singer, everyone. Randy Singer. I'm going to let him in right now. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Randy Singer. How you doing, Randy?
Hey, Michael, how are you doing today? Good to see you.
Very good. Thanks. Nice seeing you. Nice seeing you. I was just doing a little intro. I do a little monologue. I try to make it nice. I don't want to just go on the stage and not introduce the right way. And I try to do the right thing. And and I was doing a little research on you. There's a few things I found out about you I didn't know. First of all,
which is what?
You had 3 successful businesses, and it said. Now I knew you had the real estate. Yeah. And I know you have the Boca Black Box, but I read somewhere you were in the automotive business as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I started off in the automobile business. That was my first business.
So tell me how that worked. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, Randy Singer, he owns the Boca Black Box in Boca Raton, Florida. Beautiful venue. I know you do about 400 or 500 shows a year, correct? You're always bringing in top acts. Then you have the Boca Black Box. You have the Black Box 2, which is next door. Is it called the Black Box or Boca 2.0?
I think it is. Box 2.0.
Box 2.0, right next door. That's the club that a lot of the comedians perform in. Of course, I perform there and a lot of other ones. I think you have Jimmy Schubert coming in soon, correct? Mm-hmm. So it's a great venue. Now, when I first started playing your room, had to be 7 years ago, you didn't have that room. That was just, nothing was there. You ended up opening it up. Because Andrew Dice Clay was in town, and you made it like a green room for him to hang out and wait for him to go on, correct?
Well, that's what ended up happening, but that's not how I ended up with the room.
No, but that's how you started using the room for that. That was like the first usable thing you did, correct? Or no?
Well, that's correct, but there is a little story behind that room. Are you ready to get into that?
No, I don't want to get into that. I want to go back, Randy, because there's a lot of things we have to. I want to go back to when you weren't doing any of that. And you were playing around doing other things. You were investing in the real estate market. You were doing this automotive business I just found out about. Give us a little back end of Randy Singer and how it all started.
Well, the first business we started was an automobile business. And what it is I just found out I really didn't like working for anybody. And I'm working at a Toyota dealership. And I don't know if you've ever traded in a car before, but when you trade in a car, they take the keys, they give it to the used car manager, he puts a number on it, and then you go back and negotiate the deal with your client. Well, I started ending up negotiating the trade-in with the client to buy it for my own account and not for the dealership.
But you were doing like a side job there, side
I
business.
I was offering them a couple $100 more to buy their car.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was I started ending up buying 3 or 4 cars a week from clients that were supposed to go to the dealership and parking them at home. And I was making more money at home selling those cars I was buying on the side
Wow.
than I was working at the dealership.
That's amazing. So you basically developed this little side gig where were you still working at the dealership while you were doing this?
I was still working at the dealership while I was doing it, but one of my neighbors called the police.
Shit.
Because here I am, a young guy. I was in my mid-20s, living in a cul-de-sac community, and
In
every
Florida.
day I'd have a new car in the driveway.
And was this in
usually
Florida? In Florida.
This was in Florida. And
Okay.
I would be buying like Mercedes or older BMWs was my specialty.
Ah.
And I'd come home with a briefcase, and people thought I was selling drugs. So somebody called the cops. Turns out I was selling cars out of my driveway.
That's hilarious. So you were in the car business then?
Well, what happened is I rented a warehouse after that. So
Oh,
this
of
was my
course.
first business. Now, I just quit the car business. I just quit my job. I rented a warehouse, and some of your young viewers don't understand what a newspaper is, but I used to buy cars out of the Sun Sentinel and then resell them out of the Miami Herald.
Okay, so
And
you were
that's
doing
how the car business started.
you were truly in the car business. You were buying cars, selling cars, buying cars, selling cars. You had the warehouse, you filled them up with cars, you sold them. You weren't doing anything that wasn't right. The only thing was you started it, you had an idea at somebody else's business, and you just kind of branched off.
Well, I kind of branched off, but the whole thing was we started off with maybe about 8 cars a month, but by the time I left and went into real estate, we were doing 300 cars a month.
Wow,
So
that's
we
a lot of
grew it,
cars.
and all the profits that we were taking at the time, we were buying all the real estate on the block.
Okay,
So
so go ahead. So tell me, so you're buying the real estate, okay?
So I ended up with office buildings and land and so forth in the neighborhood that we were doing the car business in.
So back and then in Florida, I mean, I remember growing up in Florida then too. This had to be, was it in the 80s, 90s, or?
Yeah, the 80s, early 90s.
You had a lot of used car lots. I mean, they would have these car lots, and for people who couldn't get financing, you'd finance them. I'm going to assume, was that something you were doing?
I was selling to those car lots. That
Okay,
was my
so you-
business. I was
gotcha.
selling to those car lots.
You weren't dealing with the general public. So you were going to
We
auctions?
were doing some to the general public also, but again, to sell 300 cars a month, we had to open up our client base. So we were selling. We ended up having an acre's worth of land, an office building, and we were selling out of there. But we grew it to $5 million a year from nothing in about 10 years.
And what happened to the people you used to work for at Toyota? You said what happened? What did they do? Did they?
I have no idea.
They didn't care. I mean, they didn't
I
try to
just
come
moved
after
on.
you. It's an interesting thing, the used car, not the used car, but the car industry. When you trade in a car, you mentioned trading it in, they take your keys. Okay, I feel right there when they take your keys, it's almost like you're done. If they got you trapped. They got your keys.
That's the automobile business on the retail side.
That's the psychological part of it. Now, you already feel
Right.
like you gave your car away at this point.
Well, that's what it is, and they try to get the deal closed. But I took that knowledge and I opened up my own little place. And like I said, we started off with just a few cars a month. We ended up with 300 cars a month, and I owned half the block by the time I was done with the automobile business.
And then you got into the real estate business.
We sold off all the land and all the property,
Right.
took all that money, bought another office building, and then converted it into real estate. It started buying and selling foreclosures.
Commercial or
Both.
Both.
Commercial and residential.
So you had a great span there. You did really well in that business from what I read.
We did very well in that business because one of the things you have to do is you can't think like everybody else. You've got to think outside the box.
Right. Is that what you
so
do? So
that's
you're
what
like,
we
you're a visionary in a sense, I would assume, because to be able to start 3 businesses, total different businesses, I mean, and we're going to get into that, you have to see a vision. There's got to be something
Well,
that you
first
do.
of all, I got to tell you this, Michael. I don't even know where a spark plug is in an automobile.
Right. Okay.
I have no idea how to change an oil, but I knew how to sell.
You knew how to sell.
That's how the business grew, is because of my salesmanship. I was able to sell the product and expand it. And the same thing in the real estate business.
Which
I
is
did not
different,
have a
though.
license. I was
You didn't have-
buying and selling from my own
Wow.
account.
But now you didn't have a license, so you had to have somebody broker the deal, correct?
No, I brokered my own deals.
How can you do that? I'm just curious.
Well, for those in real estate, no, there's what they call an MLS listing service.
Correct. Oh,
You
okay.
pay a
Gotcha.
fee, you pay $150, $200, and you list your own property on this service, and it goes out to the MLS market.
Right. So, like in Vegas, we have the MLS too, but we don't have that service where you have to list through somebody. A broker must do your deal in Florida,
Well,
in
a
Nevada.
broker lists the property, but
Okay.
I act as my own salesman.
Correct. Okay. So you're just selling your own
I
thing.
pay
Gotcha.
them a fee,
Right.
and then there's a commission owed probably to the buyer's salesman, which of course you have to pay.
And you were rocking and rolling, doing really well in that business. How long did that last where you were just like killing it? Because you were obviously
We were
doing very well.
about 50 to 75 properties a year buying and selling.
Wow. That's not
We
no
were
joke.
very active. We'd have 3 or 4 crews on the road at a time, just going through each unit and renovating them.
Right. So you were flipping, in other
We were
words.
basically flipping the properties, yes.
Did it take a turn? Was there a time when when it went sour?
In 2008, the real estate market in Florida crashed. I was holding 50 properties at the time. So we lost everything.
And then what do you do? What did Randy
What do you
Singer do?
do?
Yeah. What do you do? You pivot?
What do you
I mean, what do you do?
What do? You couldn't just let everything go, man. There was nothing I could do.
No, but there had to be something where you're just sitting there saying, okay, well, I built this automotive business. I built this real estate business. You doing comedy at the time as a stand-up?
Not yet.
Not yet. So you know that wasn't there yet. So you didn't get into the business of selling yourself. It seems like everything you do, you sold something, including yourself. As comedians, we sell ourselves.
Comedy is also selling. We'll get to
It's
that.
and yeah, it's yeah. So what happened? You had a
Well, the
bad.
market started to crash, and
Okay.
you've got all these properties. Now, what happened was they weren't appraising out anymore. The property values were dropping. People weren't getting qualified for mortgages. So we ended up churning out of our properties. What I mean by churning is there's still maintenance and taxes and other things owed on the property besides the purchase price. I had to sell property B to pay C, D, E, and F.
Borrow from
Eventually,
Peter, pay Paul. Yeah.
we just ended up churning out of the properties. I ended up getting divorced over it.
Okay. So you're in a
moved into
relationship.
One of my units.
Wow. And then did you do some heavy thinking? I mean, at that point, what happened? There had to be
Okay,
a spark
we
that
moved
went
into
off.
heavy drugs. No.
Hey, nothing wrong with a little. It was the '80s.
Well, of course we had heavy thinking. Now, as the market was crashing, I started to get up into. I needed something to do to relieve the stress. That's when I started doing open mics.
Okay, so that makes sense. You were doing
So
it as a
that
form of
led
therapy.
me to get into because on stage you could be whoever you want. And back then, I parked my Mercedes behind the building. I came in looking like another broke ass comic, like everybody else on the
Right.
stage.
Right.
I didn't want anyone to know what I had or.
Right. Well, so you still had money though then. Okay, you
No,
didn't
I
just.
was losing. I was in the process of losing.
Oh, you were losing it, but you were still able to keep something to live your life. I mean,
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah.
you still had your Benz. You still were doing your thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you would
that's
show up
a-
to these comedy clubs.
That's when I started doing comedy, and then I started getting more and more into the comedy as a way to relieve stress. I ended up getting divorced. Just had a few rentals that I was living off the income, so I really didn't have to work, and that's when I started doing comedy. But it got to the realization. I woke up one morning and said, "Wait a minute. Yesterday I was making $30,000 a month. Today I'm making $200 a week. I don't know how long this is going to last doing comedy." So I went into the producing end of the business. I had
Well,
all this business
you thought, see, that's the thing where a lot of comics, I think, make mistakes. They stay with the same, they start comedy, it kind of does okay. As they get older, it doesn't really work out. They start sliding a little bit, but they still are committed to the art. You know yourself. You saw you saw you had to do something else. You realized it,
Well, listen, you know how difficult it is for a comedian to get stage time in the beginning.
It
I was
is.
really enjoying being on stage and working with audiences. So I started producing shows. I would
Okay.
run a theater. I'd hire a headliner. I'd open for them. I'd manage the box office. I'd manage the marketing, and then pay everybody out and keep what was left at the end of the night.
Who were some of the comics you started out with producing and doing with? Was
One of the first comics I was dealing with was Bobby Collins.
I love Bobby, sure.
Yeah, so Bobby worked with me quite a bit. And when we couldn't find comedians, we'd start creating content. Like I would create shows like 3 Historical Broads Off Their Medication.
Okay.
Ran a theater, hire 3 female comedians, and we had a show.
3.
I had another show, The Cannoli and the Macaroon. I had a Jewish comedian and an Italian comedian.
That's great.
Funny, you don't look Jewish. So
Right.
I'd come up with catchy titles,
Sure.
put them in a theater, and because of the titles, we would sell. But it wasn't always an easy start. The very first show that I did, 2 weeks before the show, the comedian walked out.
Wow.
Walked out, quit. So I already got the theater rented. I already did the marketing, and she quit.
Just quit. So what do you do? You make a phone call and say, who can we put in our place? Or
Well, here's what, that's exactly what I did, because the name of the show was called A View from Abroad. So what I did is I got on the phone with some people I knew in New York, said, hey, listen, I need a female comedian. I'm putting the show together. So we found one. We changed the name to A View from an entirely different broad.
Love the name.
And did the show. And that show, believe it or not, ended up on People's Court. I ended up suing her for walking off the show, and then People's Court got a hold of it, and that whole episode aired on with Judge Milan.
Who was the judge? Was
Milan.
Milan? Okay, not Wam.
So, but most people would have quit the business right there. The second show I did was 3 Historical Broads Off Their Medication.
I love the name.
It's a brilliant name. I hired 3 comedians. I'm not going to mention their names, but one of them was a pain in the ass. I mean, a real pain in the ass. And the only reason I did it, the 3 of them were friends.
Okay.
I thought it'd be a lot of fun, get together, hang out, do a show together. One of the comedians got pissed off for whatever reason. 45 minutes before the show, 1,200 seats sold out crowd. She gets the other 2 girls riled up. 30 minutes before showtime, they left.
Wow.
So now here I am at a theater, 1,200 seats sold, no comics.
And you have 1,200 seats. People are getting ready to see a show.
And I have 30 minutes.
How do you pull it off? It has to be.
I got on the phone.
30 minutes, okay.
I started calling out the female comedians in the area, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. About 10 minutes later, they called me back and said, we'll come back, but we want more money.
Oh, they strong-armed you.
Yeah, but I said, go fuck yourself.
Wow.
I'll tell the audience you died in a fiery car wreck.
Right.
Don't come back. 10 minutes later, I guess they realized they don't come back, they're not getting paid.
They're not getting anything,
They don't get
right.
their airfare, they don't get their hotels taken care of. So they said, well, we'll come back if you pay us in cash. And I said, you know what? Go fuck yourself.
Wow.
I'm already going to tell them you died in a fiery car crash.
Right. You're ruined, yeah.
10 minutes to showtime, they call me back. Okay, we're coming back.
They tried to put you against the wall, and you wouldn't cave
That
in.
is correct. So
And I don't want to know the names of the comedians, but are these comics still working today? In other words,
Yes.
are they
All of them.
known? They are, okay.
Yes.
Interesting. So they tried to strong.
Well,
So-
one of them thought she'd take advantage of me because I was new in the business,
Right.
promoting shows.
Right.
So the show was a hit. They got standing ovations. And they said, yeah, let's go out to dinner and celebrate. I said, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I'm
Did
out of here.
you were
Here's
done?
your
Did you
stuff.
never work with them again?
Never work with them again.
That would have sucked though if you had to let's say they didn't do the show and they listened to what you said and fuck you. You'd have to refund all these people the money. That kind of sucks too though.
That is correct.
Yeah. So I would it's almost like you want to play. You have to play ball a little bit, but you weren't giving in at all.
Well, it wasn't that. They shouldn't have been strong-arming me. The one woman was just an agitator. She was just an agitator.
Right.
The point is, the first show I did, comedian walked out. Second show I did, I got all 3 comedians
Walked out.
And she said one thing when she came back. Randy, do yourself a favor. Don't quit your day job.
Wow.
And when she said that to me, that what gave me the force
The fuel. Yep.
to continue. Said, you know what? There is a reason I'm in this business, and I'm going to continue.
And I think that it has a lot to do. A lot of comedians got that same advice many years ago, saying, a lot of comedy club owners would tell the comedians at an open mic night, "Hey, listen, don't quit your day job. This is not for you." And then they make it later on in life because it's kind of that one little thing that fuels you, that pushes that button. In comedy, especially, it's such an emotional business. And then you were a comedian, and you're still a comedian, but you were doing comedy too, so you kind of had that emotional side to you as the businessman. So it could have went either way, but you made the right decision.
Yeah, and it's anyone else would have probably quit at that point.
They would have folded it up at that point.
They would have folded it up.
So,
first of all, I lost in the real estate. The market crashed in real estate. I had to pick myself back up. When I got into the comedy, I had to figure it out. And I had these bad experiences to begin with, but I didn't quit.
You didn't quit. It's resilience. But let me ask you this, though. It's interesting because in real estate, the market goes down, the market goes up. And you saw it go up again. But did you ever go backwards? Did you ever say, I'm going to go back into the real estate? I'm going to go back into the car business, too. I'm going to dabble in it again because now it's great to get into it. Or did you just say, you know what, fuck it, it's over. That's another part of my life. This is what I'm doing now.
Well, first of all, I would never get back in the automobile business. It was brutal. It's a brutal business. And now, it's just the margins are too slim. The real estate, I never quit. I just didn't do 50 to 100 properties a year anymore. I still do 1 or 2 properties a year every year.
Even to this day, you're still dabbling.
Even to this day.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I still dabble in real estate.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you produce these shows, which is interesting because I remember we were talking when I was there last time, and you said it's all about the theme shows. People love theme shows. You told me that when we were hanging. And it really had me thinking. I'm like, you're right. I mean, as a comedian, I'm doing this 37, almost 38 years, and as a solo stand-up performer. But then you start looking at, and I do business, but then I'm thinking, but he's right. Why wouldn't I come with the knowledge that I have and come up with a show and do that? And it makes sense. So that's something you inspired me to get involved in. And I will tell you this. So I bought the name Comedy Cosa Nostra. Nobody had it. I was surprised. ComedyCosaNostra.com. I thought it was a great name. Cosa Nostra, comedy, Italian. Everybody's doing the mafia people and all that shit. I bought it. I put it to the side. Will I do something with it? Maybe. You might get a call one day. We'll see what we can do. But I think it's a smart idea for comedians, especially doing it such a long time, to start doing those things and wrapping shows around other comedians that that are not working as much, and build up through a theme show and get with guys like you that can maybe produce that show.
Well, just look at the audience. Let's look at the audience level. If you put a name up there, the audience may not know who they are. So they may not show up. But if it's 3 Jews walk into a bar comedy tour, well, hey, I like Jewish humor.
Right.
It really doesn't matter who the comics are.
Yeah.
As long as the comics have to produce, of course.
Because they're going there for the whole experience of that show.
Correct.
Which makes a lot of sense. So then you got into the Boca Black Box. That's when we met, and you had this venue in Boca, which was a great venue a beautiful venue, but it's really evolved over the time. You've done a lot with that. What's going on with that? You have 500 shows a year, which is a lot of shows to do. It's almost like one a day, almost, if you look at it that way.
It's more than that. In season, we do 15 shows a week.
15 shows a week.
7 days in the week. We'll do 5 shows on Saturday, 3 shows on Sunday, 3 shows on Friday, between the both rooms. So we rotate the acts, but we always just try to provide entertainment so the audience either has a choice of a comedy show or a music show or something to do that night. But when I started this, the reason I started Boca Black Box was I was producing these shows at casinos and theaters, and I just couldn't get enough dates. I don't know if you know the theater business, but it's like there's schedules in advance.
Right.
And I'm a small promoter. I'm not Live Nation. I'm not AEG, and I got on the bottom of the list. It's hard to get stage dates. So I said, well, I'm going to have to get something myself, and that's how this started. But we started off as a comedy club, not a music venue.
So you were strictly comedy club, but you were such it was such a big room, though.
Well, it's 300 seats, but when we first started, we were gearing towards comedy because that's what I knew. I knew nothing about the music industry.
Right.
But there was another comedy club, a big comedy club, that forbid any comic to work here.
Oh, okay. That happens a lot.
Well, it's standard in the business. Listen, It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Had me switch gears. Either I close my doors or I move in another direction. And that's what we did. That's when we started moving into music.
As a comedy club owner, though, let's go, and because that's really what it comes down to. You started out as a comedy club owner.
That is correct.
Do you believe in that concept too? If you play my room, you don't play other rooms, or do you believe in the comic should just earn a living, wherever he or she can play, as long as it's not like right next door the same week? Where's your rule for that?
The main thing is this applies to music also. We're a theater that charges a ticket price.
Right.
So if a comic wants to work down the road, or a band wants to work down the road at a bar or an outside venue where the customer can see them for free, then I can't have them work here, because how am I going to sell a ticket for somebody if they could see them for free down the road?
Right. Makes
so that's
sense.
what the issue is for me.
Okay.
I don't really care if they play at another theater or another venue. Give me
Right.
30 days, maybe.
Yeah.
6 days.
Yeah.
But just don't play for free.
Right. I agree with that. Don't play for free. If I'm going to pay you, you're going to pay people, and they're just going for free. Well, then that's what you should be paying them free. At that point.
Why are they coming? Why would they pay to see you here if I could go
Right.
see you in a bar for free?
I love the fact that you do a lot of tribute artists, because there are some great ones out there so they can enjoy a fantastic show. Because let's face it, these tribute artists are amazing now. Some of them are just like you can't even tell if you close your eyes. And it's still live entertainment.
Nostalgia is in. End
Yeah.
of story.
Yeah, I
People
agree.
want to remember when life was simple.
Yeah.
Remember, the Eagles, ABBA, Bee Gees, we have a man in Boston, all these tributes come through. It brings you back to a time where life was simple. There was no internet, there was no social
Right.
media. It was just the music and the people you were with. And that's what these tribute bands do today. They bring you back to a simpler time.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have personally a favorite? I know you hate to say it because, but
I can't say it, but here's the thing.
a genre. What age? Like what genre?
Classic rock, of course.
Okay, classic rock.
70s music is my thing. But, 5-10 years ago, Motown, doo-wop was big. But that generation is dying out. What's moving into the 55 communities today is the Woodstock generation. So the music of the 60s and 70s is what's popular today, because that's the audience that got the disposable income.
Right.
That have got time, and they want to hear the music they grew up with.
And what about the 80s? Since a lot of them are retiring now too.
We're not. By the time we get into the 80s and 90s, Michael, I hope I'm gone. I don't want to be here for that music.
When I talked to you, Randy, I really, from the beginning, I always knew you had this. You're a visionary, number one, and also a salesperson. But 100%. And I mean that you're a guy who knows how to close a deal, because you know how to work off the emotion, you know how to work off the logic of the deal. So it's got to be emotional. So you know how to tap into people's emotion by, like you said, you got to pay attention to what's going on out there. The biggest thing in sales, pay attention, listen. So you're listening, constantly listening to the audience, listening to your customers, and paying attention and working off the emotion. How does it make you feel? It's the experience when they walk out of the Boca Black Box. How they felt is more important than anything else. How did you make them feel?
Let's just take one step back.
Sure.
Comedy, most people don't see it this way, but comedy is a sales job.
100%.
What you're telling the audience, you have to convince them is the truth, even if it's not.
Correct.
And if you get laughs, you get paid. That's how you get paid. But comedy is a business.
And most comedians don't treat it as a business. It's emotional to them. It's I love it.
They want to perform, but they don't know how to market. So, and that's what the problem is, because the ones that know how to market get booked more. If you could put asses in the seat. But comedy is a sales job. You have to sell your audience. You have to sell the booker. You have to sell the room. And you got to get the people to come in.
And sell the experience and build up that loyalty, because you have a loyal following. You have an email list that's priceless. You can email everybody in one day, say so and so is going to be there, and you can tap into their emotion and market it that way. You're going to succeed. You're the only business, you personally, I think you're the only independent theater out there, right? Independent venue, as far as I know. Most of them are taken up.
But what you're saying about the email list, that is so funny, because we had a band that canceled on a Thursday night. And I only had 2 weeks to replace them. And it was a very difficult thing. Well, whoever I'm going to replace it with, I'm not going to be able to sell a lot of tickets. So I called up one of my buddies and said, hey, I'm going to do a free show. Can you do it? We'll pay you whatever you need. We put it out in an email blast. Within 10 minutes, all the 300 tickets were reserved.
Wow.
Which showed me how powerful that email list was.
Very.
Because they didn't realize it.
Yeah.
We had more complaints that they couldn't get tickets. So we had to put on another event, another free event, and in 10 minutes, those tickets were gone.
Sold out. How many emails do you think you have if you had to just guess?
We probably have over 100,000.
Holy, that's gold right there. And I love coming to I can't wait to come back in October, actually. I'm going to be there. But I love coming to play the smaller room, 2.0. And what's interesting is I know you for years, and I always knew you did comedy. I always knew, when I was opening for Dice at your theater or do my own at your place, you'd go on stage and do a few little jokes here and there, blah, blah, blah. And you kind of you did. I don't want to say I dismissed you or disregarded you, but I'm like, I never thought you were truly a comedian. When I was up there the last time, I got to actually watch you from the side, and I'm like, all right. And I'm watching, and I'm getting ready to go on. And don't forget, I haven't been on in 8 years, so I was coming back to the stage at your club. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm listening to the audience, and I'm listening to you, and I'm like, this is no fucking joke right now. I got to fucking work. You really, I got to see a different side of Randy Singer. You killed the crowd. And I don't want to say afraid. I'm never afraid, but I'm in a sense, now I got to work. It's not like I'm just going up there and, yeah, right, blah, 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 two Jews walking to a bar. You were doing material. You're truly a comedian. And I really got to see that, which I thought was fantastic. And I just wondered, why don't you work more?
Honestly, it's because of the money.
It does.
You know what it is? I'm not one of those guys that want to, it's the money.
Yeah, I agree.
I started comedy when I was in my 40s already. So, it takes so many years to get to the top of your field. And I didn't want to put the time in. I tried the road. I didn't like it. I went on the road with a comedian. His name, I'll tell you his name is Gemini. You might know.
Oh, I know Gemini, sure, from New York.
Gemini Labardi. Nice guy. Love him to death. But, so my first road experience, said we're going to a college town, so I opened for him. And his college, okay, so I'm going to do the F-bomb, and I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And nobody was laughing. And I didn't understand why. And it turns out it was a college town. Everybody there was from a Bible college. So I was like, oh.
How do you do that?
And we go to a strip club. I said, oh, great. At least a little entertainment. And Gemini sitting doing card tricks.
Yeah.
To the strippers. I said, this is not what we're here for.
We're not here for that. We're not here to
but
pull a rabbit out of that.
The road wasn't for me. And that's why I started producing shows in theaters. It was a little easier just doing a theater. But it's just, stand-up comedy is the most difficult art out there. It's the most difficult art form out there.
Has there ever been a time in your time as when you were just doing comedy? Was there ever a time you said, you know what, I'm going to go to Los Angeles, I'm going to go to the Comedy Store or the Improv or the Laugh Factory, and I'm going to really work it every night. I'm going to do it. I just want to fucking do it. Or was it always about I want to make this a business? Was there ever a time when it was more emotional and you said, I'm just going to really go out there and do it?
It was never emotional for me. It was always a business.
It's always a business. So there was never a time because you had the talent, you got the chops, but there's a lot of work to it too. You knew you can do the business side of it and make more money and live a beautiful life.
That is correct. Hey, let me just explain. This might clear things up a little bit.
Yeah.
I got into the automobile business. I had no idea what I was doing. No idea what to change an oil, what a spark plug was. But it was a challenge. And it was a challenge that excited me. When I got out of the automobile business and went into the real estate business with no knowledge of the real estate business and no license, it was a challenge. Can I make this work? When I opened up Boca Black Box, I had no idea of the bar business, had no idea how to run a comedy club. It was the challenge that excites me. And that's what it is. So it's a challenge that
it's a challenge.
Gets me going. It's not the money. The money is it's just a way to keep score.
Yeah.
But it's the challenge that
makes
excites
sense.
me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be on the road to be a comic.
Well, all right, so I got a question for you here. And I did write a few down because there are some questions that I feel because you're such a different kind of guest. You're all over the place. You have, businesses and all that. The moment you knew, there's that moment when you clicked. You know what I mean? That moment, I think in the automotive business, you knew that you could do this and you took it and did it. When did you realize what I'm doing here at the Boca Black Box clicked? When did you know that this is going to be successful? You know, we had that moment. You had to realize it at one point, and you said,
well, in the beginning, it was very tough because I couldn't get any acts to work here because of the comics wouldn't come here. The bands wouldn't even come here because I'm a new venue. So it took a long time to get to that point to where it clicked. And a matter of fact, I would just have to say after COVID is when it all clicked because I had to reinvent myself.
How did COVID affect you, by the way, since we're on that?
We were shut down. It affected us very badly.
Okay.
And we were trying to figure ways, it affected everyone. It wasn't just me.
But as far as I know, during COVID, after COVID, you not only came back, you came back stronger, and you remodeled.
We remodeled 2 years ago, yeah.
I mean, you really you built a, you're not the guy down the block anymore. You're a real fucking venue that,
that renovation changed everything. It changed the ticket pricing. It changed the audience. It changed the type of acts that we got. It's probably the smartest thing that we did. Most people would have put that money in their pocket through a distribution, but I said, maybe we should just change the seating and change the walls and change the bar. And that's what we did. I put a plan together and implemented it, and it became successful.
I think one of the smartest things you did also is you didn't go the route of food. I think you stayed strictly bar, venue, entertainment, you're out, do your thing, enjoy, thank you, and that was it. No kitchen, no food, no waste.
Do you know why?
No, I'd love to know why.
I'm going to tell you why. Because when the girl at the box office doesn't show up, who do you think is selling tickets?
Randy
If
Singer.
the bartender doesn't show up,
Right.
who is tending bar?
Right.
If the featured comedian doesn't show up,
Right.
who's doing stage time?
Yeah. You made it simple.
If you think I'm going to be cooking a burger when the cook walks out of the kitchen, you're crazy. And
No,
that's why I didn't put it in the kitchen.
And I think, and not only that, no waste. You're not throwing away 30 pounds of chopped meat tomorrow. You're not getting rid of chicken wings that didn't sell. And,
It also cuts your payroll down. My business plan is we concentrate on ticket sales. We don't have a drink minimum. Our business is ticket oriented, and that's how we make our money. It's just on ticket sales.
Do you feel comedy has changed in the last 20 years? I've talked to other comedians. Of course, comedians feel certain things differently. Do you feel comedy has changed? Not the business, comedy.
Comedy has changed. Again, COVID changed everything because the social media comedians, when people stayed home, started getting their entertainment on social media. Those comedians started to get booked more, and the older guys that were funny were getting pushed out because they weren't putting the asses in the seats as these people that were selling on social media during COVID.
Right. So, question.
I put a whole different breed of comedian.
A different breed. Yeah. No.
Not a lot of them could sustain.
Right.
Because they didn't have the ability when they got into this. They just did some funny skits. But some do.
When I was advertising the show.
Changed.
No, but when I was advertising this particular show that I'm going to have Randy Singer, and I advertised in one of a stand-up comedy group on Facebook where stand-up comedians go. And I put it out there saying that comedy club owner Randy Singer's, not comedy club venue and owner, the whole thing is going to be on the show. It'd be a good show for you to tune into, maybe learn something. So some of the feedback was, is he one of those kind of people that just, if an influencer's got, 600,000 followers but is not funny, will they trump over somebody who's talented who's not going to bring as many people in? That was a couple of questions. The 6 minute, the 6 minute warriors, the ones that go on TikTok and they can sell a room out, but they're not funny. How do you handle that? And what do you do on that? They wanted to know.
At the end of the day,
it's business.
It's a business. I have employees I have to pay. I've got rents, bills that have to be paid. I have to do what I can to facilitate it. That's one of the reasons I opened 2.0, the smaller room.
Very smart.
To give the comics that weren't able to draw a 300-seat audience into a smaller room where they could draw maybe 100, 150 over a night.
Right.
So that's why we opened the room, was for that purpose, to give those older comics an opportunity.
And you got great names coming in there.
Yes.
I mean, you really do. And when you told me about it the first time, I'm like, you said, you play 2.0. And I said to myself, okay. I'm like, I played the big room at first, but, I said to myself, well, probably not going to draw the big room. It makes sense. And then I looked at it and I'm like, oh, he's got comedians that are name comics that are playing that room. That it's intimate. It's nice. It's a beautiful room. Aaron Wexler was there. Aaron Wexler,
yes,
who's actually done my podcast. Now talk about a person who's coming up in the ranks. So she's got, so far on my podcast alone, she did one episode, a few weeks ago. It's already 11,000 listeners on it. I see it. Her numbers are going crazy. Yeah.
She's one thing about Erin. She's brilliant at marketing, and that's what a lot of comics don't understand. I mean, she's brilliant at marketing. She knows how to drive an audience into the theater.
Have any comics influenced you?
If she draws them in, she delivers.
Yeah, she does. She's very funny.
It's not about just getting them in the seat. Can you deliver when you get them here? And she can.
Right. And which is my question. So, okay, let's say you do hire a person who's a TikTok famous comic, and they only have a good, strong 10 minutes, but they're going to pack your room. But now they come to the room, and they have to go and do 20, 30 minutes, and they suck. And people walk out of there pissed off. How do you handle that?
We give them free tickets to another show.
come and see Fred Rubino coming next week. He sells out anyway. He sells out. Freddie's a good guy.
Yeah, no, he's a funny guy.
Who are some of your favorite comics you like to work with, Randy?
Well, I'm biased. I really can't answer the question. I don't want to answer the question because what it is at the end of the day, it's a business.
It is a business. What about who you've worked with personally as a comic?
Yeah.
Bobby Collins is a good friend of yours.
Well, he's the reason I got started in this business.
So tell us about that, because that's an interesting story.
I was in real estate at the time, and I was doing a little open mics on the weekend and a little guest spots here and there. And a comedy club called me and asked me to take this guy to the radio station, and I was very busy. I said, "Now I got deals going on, I can't." I called the club back and said, "You know what? I'm going to cancel all my appointments today. I'll take this guy to the radio station." So we pulled up. Here comes a guy from outside of a Dunkin' Donuts with a ripped T-shirt, stains on his sweatpants, socks, and flip-flops. And I thought the guy was hitting my window to ask me for change. It was Bobby Collins. So we went out. We went to 2 or 3 radio stations that day, but we had a great time. We were laughing all day. It was great. It was really, we bonded very much. And at the end of the day, he says, "Okay, how much can I pay you for your time today?" I said, "Bobby, honestly, you can't afford me."
Right.
And he started cracking up. I said, "You know what you could do for me? Let me book a couple shows for you, and we'll call it even." And that's how it started. I booked a couple shows for him after that meeting.
You started producing certain shows with Bobby Collins?
Producing shows for him. After that, I started renting theaters and learning the business.
Wow.
And he said, "If you ever get in this business, you're going to be on top." But you just, and he was right.
Yeah, no, you're definitely a dominant force in the industry. I mean, you sustained a lot. Comedy clubs are known for not lasting more than a few years,
Well, there's some clubs out there that have lasted a long time. You know what it is? It really boils down to good management. It's just like a restaurant. If they don't know what they're doing and the cook doesn't know what he's doing, you're not gonna get many customers coming back.
Did you develop I know you developed a bit of a culture. Can you talk about your culture and your leadership with your leadership at your venue? How your team members work and how you keep them going?
It's funny you say that because I tell them constantly we're the land of misfit toys. I don't know if that's a reference to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Sure,
You remember that?
I say it about the Comedy Store, yeah.
So, and that's what we call it. So the people that don't fit in here anywhere in like mainstream end up here.
The Motley Crew.
And they bond and they come together and it's incredible. Friendships and so forth. It's incredible. So,
how do you feel you are as a boss, as a leader? I should say. I hate to use the word boss. A leader.
That depends on who you talk to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got people that stay with you for a long time.
I've got a few that have been here since we started. There's maybe 3 employees that have been here for almost 9 years.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself going, Randy? What's going on? You're like me. We're in our 60s, I'm assuming. You're 60, probably in your 60s too, like me. We've talked about it. Where do you see yourself going? Where do you see the box going? Where do you see the business going? What are you going to do? Are you going to expand? Are you going to franchise? What are you going to do? Are you looking for people to come on board? What are you doing?
Well, we would consider a partnership to expand the brand. We do have a brand. We do have a specialty that is why we have such a big following. And that would work in other markets in the South Florida, in the Florida area.
Your Florida market, not any other market. If somebody wanted to open up
outside of Florida,
not even Nashville, these hot cities.
not at this time.
Not at this time. I do a thing on the show called rapid fire questions, Randy. So, it's really been working. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. I know you're busy and you've given me a lot of time already. And I'm going to be out there in October, and I'm into it. I love coming out there. For me, because it's now not about the money. I don't want to tell you that all the time. I want to make money, but it's not about that. I really do enjoy getting out and doing my thing. So I got some rapid fire questions. So I don't want you thinking about them too long. I'm going to try and give you ones that aren't going to put you on the hot seat. Clean comedy or blue comedy for you?
Personally,
yeah.
When I do comedy, I'm more on the blue side.
Okay.
But I prefer, depends on the age of the audience and who you're attracting. So that's a difficult question.
Okay. Who's your comedy hero? Has nothing to do with today. This could be hero. Who did you love when you were growing up?
Andrew Dice Clay was one of them.
Was he really? That's an interesting story. Wait a minute. All right, so Dice came into your room. That's right, because I helped facilitate that.
Introduced us. Yes.
Okay, that's all I said. I'm taking no credit for anything other than I helped facilitate it.
But
Dice comes to your room.
As a young married man, we used to get our friends together and go to Andrew Dice Clay shows.
So how do you like it now when he comes to your room? And you got to see two sides of him. You got to see the Dice man, who you loved and grew up with. Then you get to see Andrew, who is a different person for the most part, even though it kind of overlaps sometimes. How do you?
He's a great person. That's all I can say. He's just great to talk to. I love hearing his stories. One of the things that I enjoy the most about the business, when I got into the business, I thought I would hear stories in the green room, of comics bending waitresses over tables and throwing, three girls in a hotel room. But all I hear in the green rooms is stories about the hip replacements and what medications they're on.
Right.
What I signed up for, Michael.
No, I know, but that's an interesting thing. Now, being in this business, are you desensitized towards celebrities now? Is there anybody that, if you saw them, would you be kind of like, who would blow your mind if you saw them now to this day? I mean, you have to answer
your question. You're right. It's very desensitizing.
But now, when I'm talking about anybody, like let's say Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, are these people like? Would you be starstruck with anybody?
Probably.
You would be.
Just have to be in that scenario, but I couldn't. I've booked some of the acts that I grew up listening to, like Keiko Matsui, Acoustic Alchemy, Vanilla Fudge. I mean,
right. I love Vanilla Fudge.
Of those, that I grew up with here, playing at the venue. It's more than just a business. I mean, I use it to hopefully bring in what I want to hear, and if the audience wants to hear it too, it's a win.
Here's a rapid fire question, but maybe you can explain it a little longer than rapid. Is there any backstage story that's memorable that you could talk about for anybody? Like anything that backstage you've seen, or it doesn't have to be an exploit, something funny, or anything that you can remember.
No, I'll say this: it's not every day is not fun, because you got to remember, I have a personality. The band's got a personality, and sometimes the personalities don't match.
They do, yeah.
I mean, we've almost, oh God, we almost had a riot outside.
Okay.
We had a group here that was on one side of the political side, and a group outside pulled up that's on the other side of the political side, and at the end of the night, they were duking it out in the parking lot.
Really?
I mean, that was probably a very intense evening.
Do we know how it started? Was it somebody on stage that said something and they just went off on it, or?
Somebody in the audience did something somebody outside didn't like. Wow. So he brought his group, and they tried to call him out, and it just didn't end well. But it's funny watching 40-year-old men beat up each other because their bellies are flying up and down. And
it's almost like that scene out of Bronx Tale with all the mob guys in suits, fat, beating up these bikers, in the bar. It's almost like
similar what it looked like.
They're out of breath, they don't know what to do. They don't want to embarrass themselves in front of their wife, so they have to try the hardest.
Down people yell at the band. And
the
band walking off stage. I guess one memorable night was we had a Doors tribute, and the keyboard player brought some special lights, and the They didn't thank him for bringing the lights, the lead singer or the drummer. So one thing led to another, and I turn around, and they're beating up the keyboard player, the drummer, and the lead singer. And it's 30 minutes before showtime.
That's
so I
hilarious.
break it up. I said, guys, you got to get back on stage and play. The keyboard player picked up his keyboard. I said, no, you have a contract. You're playing. He said, I ain't staying, and he left. So we got a doors band. The doors are open. We have no keyboard player. So I said, what are you guys going to do? So they played anyways. During intermission, a guy came up to me and said, the band is really good, but you know what would make this show better? If they had a keyboard player.
That's funny. Who do we got coming up?
Nights like that could be hectic.
And what do you do after the show? Guys just hang out backstage, or
you've been here.
Are you allowed to talk about that? I mean, I don't know.
But yeah, we open up a bottle, we sit in the office, we tell stories.
I loved hanging out. I can't wait to do it again on the back porch area. You had that little, it's like October, maybe it's a little cool. We could have a fire pit, do something. It's nice.
Listen, they say if you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life.
I agree with that.
I love the industry.
I love what I do.
I love the people. I love my audience. I love the acts.
Is there anything you want people to know about Randy Singer that they don't know, or they think they know about you that you want to clear up? I mean, people talk about people out there. I mean, I hear your name all the time with people. I never hear anything bad, though. To be honest, I really don't. It's always good stuff. Everybody loves playing your room. Always treat them like people.
Well, at the end of the day, if you book them, they love you, and if you don't, they don't. That's what the bottom line is.
Yeah.
I've never graduated high school. I was homeless at 17, and I just knew that's not where I wanted to be.
Is it hard to make friends in the business?
Not really. I have a lot of people we're in touch with on a regular basis.
That you don't book?
No, well, I usually book them.
But what I'm trying to say,
entertainers?
Well, okay, because the show business is kind of a fake business. So they're all, I love it. They're friends. You see them, they play, but then one day they don't play your room anymore because they're not doing what they're doing anymore. And do these people that you thought was your friend that you see all the time because you booked them, now that you don't book them or her, they don't want to be friends, or they just kind of will stay friends?
Listen, it is what it is. And remember, most acts don't live here. It's not like
Correct.
You can have a casual relationship.
Right. So you kind of have to make,
because they don't live here. They come in from all over the state.
Yeah, that's true.
Here.
Yeah. No, it's a great room. I love coming out there. I'm looking forward to October. I think I'm also doing something in December with an Italian-themed show with Tammy and Rubino. What do you got coming up that we could talk about? I'm almost at the 50,000 download mark. We're at 46,000 something downloads. So we're hitting 50,000 soon, which is a big. I've done 20. This is like 22 episodes. I think you're number 21 or 22. But who do you got coming up?
You got to really look at the website, Michael, because we probably have about 300 shows already on the books between now and April.
So they can go to the Boca Black Box. Is it BocaBlackBox.com?
Yeah.
And they can see all the
There's
events.
just a lot of acts coming in, comedians, music. We've got something for everybody.
There's no excuse anymore for people not to find out. And I hate this. You see it on Facebook all the time. Who's performing at the so-and-so show? Google it. Just Google it. Just go on the fucking website or whatever. It's so easy to find out.
It's all available. All the information is online.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Randy, I really had a great time talking to you today. I hope you enjoyed doing the show. We did almost an hour. Like I said, how'd everybody like Randy? Everybody, how'd you enjoy him tonight? All right, thank you. That was awesome. No, they love you. All right. Yeah, they really they loved you. They always love you when you're on. This is your first time. So anyway, I'm trying to get this podcast going. How Not to Bomb. Everybody's got a story. I think we're on to something. Maybe when I come out there in October, I'll do a live show from over there at the Boca Black Box, like
the setup, man.
During the day. I'll bring some of my stuff too, and we'll have like a little thing there. And we'll do it live from the Boca Black Box, and we'll do it during the day. Yeah, cool, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. Randy Singer, everybody, don't forget, go to the BocaBlackBox.com. See who's performing. You can follow them on Instagram, Boca Black Box. You can follow them everywhere. Look for them. It's not that hard to figure out. They're in Boca Raton, Florida. Premier venue, top venue, class act all the way. Some of the greatest shows. I appreciate you coming on the show today, Randy. I really do. I know I took a lot of your time. And
remember, they can see you in October here at the Boca Black Box also.
October 8th, 9th, and 10th, I will be there. And I'm really going to promote that show because now it's on a mission. I want to sell that little 2.0 room out big time. I love it. and I think we'll do well. So I appreciate it, man. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk real soon. I appreciate it, Randy. Thank you. Yep, my pleasure. Bye-bye now.